there's many more legs in this one, but I will put a pin in it because I could keep you all day. What I will do though, Alan, because these have been three remarkable discussions. You've had an unbelievable career, and if anyone even goes and looks at all of the works that you've produced, they will see that it is prolific, and you're still writing books. I suspect there are quite a few people who, when they're getting sucked into the soul wearying habits of scrolling on social media or feeling like they've wasted their time on the internet, and they wish they'd been producing something of worth, or that they'd followed something like a line of inquiry, as you have in many different areas, they would want to know, what does a professor emeritus do to structure his day? So when you're researching, what's your approach to research and writing and the habits that you've formed over the years?
Well, I think I've formed this. What is curious is that I have done quite a lot of things, but I formed more or less the same habits of everyone in my social class, is that we were sent away to boarding schools at the age of 8. And from then on, we learnt several skills. One was to concentrate very much on the task in hand. And that was because the first preparatory school I went to, which was the most interesting school in maybe the world, certainly in England, the Dragon School. There's a book by the poet who went there, John Gillam, called Summoned by Bells. And that's what it describes it. We were summoned by bells. In other words, 45 minutes of Latin, 45 minutes of English poetry, 45 minutes of maths, and so on. So you did that. You didn't do too much of it because you then did all the other things, plays and music and so on and so on. So I learnt to concentrate, to achieve something, and then the bells came and you did something else. My great advantage over all the other people who went through this and maybe didn't do as much sometimes was that I wasn't particularly gifted. Having too many gifts as a child can be a great disadvantage. I was not gifted in two ways. One was physically. I was very small. I was very light. I couldn't run fast. As a result, when I quickly appreciated that the way to success in a school like that was through games, I didn't have any of the properties which would make me any good at any games. So I realized the only way I'd be good at games was to think very hard, to plan very hard, and to throw myself into it with utmost vigor. And the result was that I was the only boy in my year in a school of 400 who was on all 4 top teams. And from that I learned, A, that usually if you really try and believe in yourself, you can achieve something against all the odds. And that was a very useful lesson from the world of games and so on. Later I realized there are games that you can't play however hard you try, but up to that bit, and it was the same intellectually. I was he tries hard kind of master's report. Alan is very willing. He tries very hard. He shows promise. He might do something one day. But he's, what I joke with my wife, he's a two-beer. The school had number 1 class. They all went to Eton and All Souls fellowships. Then there was 2A, and they all went to a better public school, and they all end up as middle to top civil servants. And then there was 2B, which I was in, and they were, you wouldn't bother to put them in for a scholarship to a good public school, but they might get into a good public school. And so they were okay. They would stumble along. And I was a 2B. Now, I realized I was a 2B, and so what was I going to do about it? And what I did about it was to pay enormous attention to planning, to time management, to organization, to memory tools, to the tools of thought. And that increased from about O-level onwards. And so at each hurdle, I just, through hard work and so on, I just leapt in. So I just got into Oxford, second or third try. I just got a top 2-1, but not a first. I just got into, and so on. So basically, the secret is to believe in yourself, to know that anybody can do anything really if they apply it. Einstein who is one of my heroes, says the same thing. He says, I was not particularly gifted. I'm not particularly good mathematician. And what I've done with my life is through self-confidence and passion and imagination. Combining those three, then I've achieved what I have achieved. So I subscribe to that view. And it's never too late. Basically, if you haven't found this about yourself and the way to work at 30, there's no reason why in this long life we lead, you can't do it at 40, 50, 60, or in my case, 80.